Hello everyone, my name is Butter Tongsly, fresh from the fridge, and welcome back once again to another weapon showcase, where we're going to showcase the latest updated and added weapon to the game, Warframe. I'm sorry for that stutter there for a moment. I almost got tongue-tied, and I caught myself as best as I could. So, the next weapon is another sentient slash corpus amalgamation weapon. Similar to the Batacore and the Occucore, those are amalgamation weapons as well. We have the sidearm, the Cyanex. I believe that's what it's called, or it's the Cyanex, however you say it. I feel like that's saying Cyanex. I remember when I first got this weapon, I once said cyanide by accident because of how that's pronounced, but it's Cyanex. It's not cyanide. Everyone's safe. There's no cyanide on this channel. Alright, so before we go into a weapon build using mandatory mods and then adding on to some elemental mods, first off, this build that I'll be showcasing is, of course, without Forma. And just like the other weapons before, I already had Orkin Catalysts installed in them as well, so definitely when you're getting the weapons, work as hard as you can to get those Orkin Catalysts. They will greatly help you in the future, being that they double your mod capacity, and you definitely want that. So let's go over the stats. This weapon has two alternate firing modes. For the automatic fire mode, which is the primary fire mode, 1.8 accuracy. So this thing's accuracy, it would be lucky to hit the broadside of a barn. That's how horrible this thing's accuracy is. Critical chance 8.0%, so definitely not to build for crits, because you'll just be wasting your mods building this weapon for crits. If weapons are around below 20% critical chance, in my opinion, they're not very good for building for crits. If the weapon is 20% and above, I would say that would be the best time to test out and see if crits makes it better for you. Critical multiplier 1.4, but this thing's not a crit weapon anyway, so really that doesn't really matter. Fire rate 4.67, so it has pretty decent fire rate. I say it's decent. 4.67 seconds. That's what the 4.67 pretty much means. Magazine of 11 shots per mag, and it has the stock ammunition, I believe, of all pistols being 250. So, including this, it would be 261 total shots. Noise, alarming, that doesn't need explanation. Reload speed is 2.2 seconds, so pretty decent reload speed. It's not too bad. Status chance of 32%, so it's definitely a status-based weapon. Fully automatic. Impact with 50 solid damage and has an additional 41 damage in gas. And then there is the Burst Fire. Burst Fire has an 80.0 accuracy, so the accuracy of the Burst Fire is a lot better than the primary fire. Critical chance, still 8%. Critical multiplier, still 1.4. Fire rate, though, goes from 4.67 to 10.05 fire rate. So the fire rate of Burst Fire is definitely faster. I believe the fire rate of this is around the fire rate of a Karkata. Magazine, still 11. Noise is alarming. Punch through 0.5, so it automatically has punch through, but it only goes through one target. Every 0.5 of punch through pretty much goes through a target, just so people knows that in a more technical way. 0.5 is one person, so it'll go through the first person you shoot at. The next person, though, it's not going to shoot through them. Reload speed 2.2, same thing as primary. Status, same thing as primary, 32%. And trigger is not fully automatic, it is burst. But the major difference as well to this weapon is it has the base 3 main damage stats of other weapons compared to the primary fire. Primary fire only has impact and gas. This has all 3 of them. Impact is 2.9 compared to primary fire's 50. So the impact of this weapon is not that good. Slash is 38.9, so pretty much one more point and it'll be 39 total slash damage. And puncture is 30.2. So this has more focus in stats of puncture and slash than it does with impact. So building this weapon can be definitely interesting compared to how more comfortable you are. And of course against factions you're facing against. So first off, let's test out the weapon's fire. So firing at this pillar. As you can see, the accuracy of primary fire, that thing's just going all over the place as if I put heavy caliber on this thing. But heavy caliber is of course a primary weapon mod. And also the ammo, I actually found out it's actually wrong of how much I counted it. It's 262 in the ammo plus the 11 in the magazine, so that means this thing has a total of 273 shots. My bad. And now we'll go for the burst fire. Burst fire is pretty much mechanic of the Grakata using the Wild Frenzy augment. I like that. Like, it's similar to the Wild Frenzy, but it's still a completely unique to this weapon because it's not given the plus 400% enhanced fire rate like Wild Frenzy gives for an augment. And also, as we can also see, the shots of this weapon ricochet. So you can definitely do some trick shots around corners and such at targets, like targets around, like over there, I could definitely go like this, and it would bounce around towards their vicinity. And same thing also if I did that with the burst fire, I'm guessing? Nope, burst fire just hits directly on the target. But of course, as we read in here before, the burst fire has punch through. So it'll go through the first target as shown. So looking at the weapon's damage against endgame enemies, it's not really going to do much to them at all. Right, I'm only doing around 1s with this thing, and of course I have my Sentinel shooting at them, which I really don't want it to do that, so I'm going to unequip my Sentinel. But we already saw the damage right there, and if I did the same thing, but if I did it with the burst fire, it's still going to do the same thing where it's not going to do much. Except right there, it does a little bit more damage because it has more procs in puncture and slash than it does with the primary fire being pure impact and gas. So, let's go now into a build. Now, for me, a weapon like this, it's pretty much best to build it for focusing on a certain faction. So, being that we're going to test this first against Grineer, let's go with a build that goes towards corrosive. So let's put on the mandatory mods for pistols. I need to fully upgrade my Hornet Strike. I am still amazed I haven't done that yet, but it's still going to showcase the damage, just minus 20%. Maxed level of Hornet Strike, it has 220% instead of 200. So I'll make sure in future videos that I get that done. And of course, as you saw, I put on Amalgam Barrel Diffusion because I like the Amalgam mods of how they add extra things with just minus 10% of what the originals give. So that's why I am not putting Barrel Diffusion, although it is giving a lot more points. So If you do not have the amalgam version, definitely go for barrel diffusion. But for this build, I'm going to showcase it with how I build it, with the mandatory mods being amalgam barrel diffusion. And lethal torrent. And then finally, because this is showcasing a build with no forma, I'm not going to have enough to put other things than an element build. So we're going to go for jolt and pistol pestilence for the enhanced status chance. And with the multi-shots, the status chance shot up all the way from 32 to 96.2. Fire rate also increased because of lethal torrent from 4.67 seconds to 7.47 seconds. No, wait. That's fire rate. I'm counting the wrong thing. Let's see. Fire rate definitely enhanced a little bit more for the secondary fire, as well as all the stats down here have been greatly buffed. So compared to firing the weapon at the level 135 Corrupt Heavy Gunner, let's try it now with both fire modes. Another thing that I really like about this weapon, if you look at it closely, the shots home. So think of this kind of like the homing projectiles the Eidolons fire at you. Of course, when they drift off a little bit, they will not home on a target, and I also just completely stripped this target of all of its armor. So pretty much right there, I can't really do maximum damage to him now. This thing is proccing stats a little bit too good. So, I forgot, I can actually put in one more mod. You know what? I'll put in Augur Pact for the enhanced damage. And we're going to try that again, this time with the Augur Pact equip. So let us fire the primary fire. So definitely the damage this can do is actually rather good. Again, overstripped the target, so it's not going to do max damage anymore. But it's still, of course, going to damage the target either way, because they have no armor protecting them now. So they're completely vulnerable to the elements. And I don't mean literally the elements that I'm proccing on them. I mean, they're vulnerable to all sources of being killed. So really, a well-placed attack with also your like melee weapons, because everyone also has melee on them, you can literally just finish off that character extremely quickly, even when you strip off the armor. So stripping off armor, I'm not really too like upset about having happen on my end, especially since if I showcase it right here again, but this time I'm gonna have my melee weapon on. I'm gonna show pretty much what I do whenever I'm over stripping armor, so that you guys can pretty much see how still effective this can be, because this weapon is doing all this damage while she has armor. But once this is all stripped off, it's not going to do as much damage anymore, like right there. But now, if I go up to remove melee, especially with a weapon like this, being that it's using condition overload, I just killed them off in like just a few swings with a melee weapon. So it's still not bad in my opinion to overstrip armor from a target. So now what if, of course, we're using this weapon to face off against the Corpus? That would be a little bit hard for me to do, because I do not have the fire mod for 6060. I need to sometimes see what I can do about like getting the 6060 fire mod as well, because I have the cold one. I think I do. Well, I have this one, so I need to get the cold one as well. I like to try my best to try and get all the mods, but I haven't had any luck getting the fire or the ice one. I'm gonna have to see like who drops in, like try and farm that for future videos. So if I'm gonna showcase the gas build, I'm gonna have to get rid of Augur Pact, And let's put on our heat damage. But for this video, it'll have to be with heated charge. I had an itch on my cheek. Don't mind that. I would showcase it also with a build using the other 90% mod, but this is me showcasing the build without Forma, so doing that's not really going to be possible without having to remove more and more mods. So let's go and spawn this. Wait, that's an elite trencher. I meant to spawn a regular Terra trencher. Also, like, if anyone knows, like, a better Corpus unit for me to use to test weapons on for Corpus targets, let me know in the comments below, because for me, I test the weapon either against the techs or the Terra Trenchers. Like, the Terra Trenchers, they have pretty durable shields. The shields are pretty durable. Where is the regular Terra Trencher? There we go. There. Alright. So now we're going to test out this weapon on the Terra Trencher. And you know what? Just in case, I'll do it against the tech too. So that way we can, just in case, get that out of the way. So regular shots. Okay. So far. Okay. It's not really doing too much against that shield, though, because of the low impact. The gas, though, is definitely helping against this guy's health, and it's slowly just bleeding out his HP as we speak. Like, he's literally just losing all of that HP, and he's about to die right here. And there he goes. So, this weapon, it's not major in damage. Like, in my opinion, that's how I see this weapon. It's not major in damage. This thing relies upon inflicting status. So I can see this being good to combo with weapons that use melee mods like this Condition Overload, because you get enhanced damage per status affecting the target. So I can see this being good for comboing with status-based weapons. Very good, actually, with comboing with them, because you'll be getting enhanced status procs to get even more 60% enhanced melee damage on your melee weapons. So this is very good for comboing with melee weapons. So let's now see a difference, though, if I used the burst fire. And then I'm going to go back to the heavy gunner, and I'm going to do the same thing with them. So, burst fire with the Terra Trencher. Okay. Because it's also proccing the gas with Slash, it's definitely bleeding out his health a lot faster. But not too major, because like I said, this weapon, in my opinion, it's not really known for... What the hell? I don't know how you did not die, but okay. It's not known for doing overall damage. Like, this thing is good for spreading dots to massive, numerous amount of targets. That's how I see this weapon shines. Where it lacks in doing large amounts of overall damage, even with all these like enhanced stats it's getting, it's making up for it with being able to just proc so many status procs at once. So we're gonna do the same thing also against the Terra Trencher, just like because I said I did. I will show it against them, because like I said, I don't know what Corpus target that's perfect for testing weapons on against Corpus. Some people do it against like the elite crewmen, but I feel like that's not really good testing, because we're testing against armored targets using the Corrupt Heavy Gunner being known for having a lot more armor than other units. So we gotta use something that's known for having more shields than the Corpus, and normally that's the Corpus Tex or the Terra Trenchers. So let's try this out. So, regular fire. Alright. Still doing the same amount of damage. And then burst fire. Same damage. So, yeah, overall, the weapon is not going to be known for doing a lot of overall damage by itself. But if you do something like this, where you proc all this status and then go in there with melee weapons, you do so much damage. Like right there, I did around 37k with a crit hit from my melee weapon. So, in total, this weapon is pretty much just best for just proccing status. Which, I wouldn't say it's a bad weapon. I still say it's very good. At least in my opinion, for, like, how I see a good use for it. Like, this can be very good for just proccing ailment statuses to multiple targets at once. Especially since the gas should spread the, like, procs of other ailments too. Let me actually test that. So let's say we're facing against the Kuva. Let's do it against the Elite Lancers. And we're just going to fire the primary and secondary mode on them and see if it procs corrosive with the gas on everyone. So, the ricochet is also making it have a chance of hitting other targets around the person that I'm aiming at. So, in a way, it is doing what I'm thinking, except it's doing it from ricochet. And as we can also see, compared to the damage we were doing on more heavy targets, this is doing a lot more damage on lighter build targets. So, where this weapon does not shine in killing off heavy targets quick, it can make up for it by being focused on the smaller targets. Especially right there, I just shred through their HP using the burst fire on them. So yeah, like, I say this weapon is very good for killing off junk and weakening heavier targets. So this could be very good for wiping out mass numbers of junk targets like Lancers, Crewmen, Standard MOAs, Osprey, Rollers, Butchers, stuff like that. So, in short, I say it's a decent weapon. Not highly effective for dealing with the more heavier built targets unless you get Forma to probably add in the 11 point solid element mods instead of the 60-60s, because this thing does overstrip on the more heavier targets, but against smaller targets, this thing wipes out smaller targets even with 60-60 mods. So I say this is a lot more effective with dealing against smaller targets than it's going to do with the bigger targets. That's how I see this thing best to be used. In my opinion, that's the best way I can see this weapon overall being used. So with that being said, that's pretty much my showcase of the builds for this weapon. So I have to say I have to end this video off here. I like this gun. Like, I like the new weapons they added in. The Fullman is overall my favorite because of how obnoxiously powerful that thing is. I even made, like, 2 separate builds. Like, that's the only time, though, that I made 2 separate builds for facing against Corpus and Grenier, and I'm mostly focusing my Forma on that weapon because that'll be one of the first weapons that I'll try my best to get as quick as possible to showcase a full build with a max number of forma to get the mods that I feel like would be best for the weapon, and I'll tell you guys how much forma it took to use it. So far, I believe it took me a total of 2 so far, and I still have a mod slot or 2 that I have to fill. So yeah. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment. Tell me what you think of the video in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Um, I'm still gonna say, like, whatever people want to build their weapon towards, feel free to build your weapon towards whatever you guys want to do. Like, if you want to build it to face against Corpus and all that, feel free to. Like, it does show that it can do pretty much decent against both. It's just it's not known for like damaging the bigger guys, so just know that ahead of time. It's not gonna do much against the bigger guys, but it should do pretty decent against the mass number of targets of junk enemies like crewmen and lancers. So, thank you all, and have a wonderful night. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
It's delicious.